People thought South Carolina deserved to be the overall #1 seed.
Right.
I said it need to be UCLA. Why need to be UCLA, Playmaker? Well, first of all, one of the most important things, they actually beat South Carolina during the season. As you can see here, they did not just beat them. They beat them pretty comfortably too.
They did. I think I'm on the other side of it. I do think it should have been South Carolina, but I don't have a problem with UCLA getting picked. But UCLA's non-conference schedule was nothing compared to South Carolina's. Nobody's non-conference schedule was anything in comparison to South Carolina's, except for maybe Texas. Texas was pretty close. They were third in strength of schedule, I believe. So they also had a tough non-conference schedule. But literally the most battle-tested team going into this tournament is South Carolina. So I think they did what they were supposed to do in order to prepare for this month.
They did. But the problem is, you took a 15-point loss to UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
And then on national television, UConn walked into Columbia, South Carolina,
right,
and completely destroyed you in the second half.
Right. Now that loss to Texas, I think you got to know that loss to Texas won only by 4 points. So not necessarily the better team won, because I don't think that. I think South Carolina is probably the better team out of them in Texas. And not a knock to my own team. I just think South Carolina has better shooting. We probably have better defense, but they have better shooting than we do. But that loss to UConn is what really probably put them in not the #1 overall. But UCLA, their conference schedule is not that tough. I mean, they got to play Nebraska, they got to play Ohio State, but your biggest is somebody you've been playing this entire time in USC. So, the
only team that beat them, by the way, the only team.
That's what I'm saying. So, I don't know that it necessarily should have been UCLA, but I don't have a problem with it. But their non-conference schedule is not the same, or their conference schedule is not the same as what the SEC is on the women's side.
Because when I heard this,
given night, you got to play Tennessee, you got to play Ole Miss, you got to play Vandy, you got to play Texas, you got to play OU. By the way, you got to play LSU and South Carolina, and then you got to play Florida, which is not great. Georgia, not great, but a tough house to go into. So any given night, you can lose in the SEC.
I get you on that one, but that's why I went ahead and I went to the numbers. I said, okay, second rank versus fourth rank, not big of a difference.
Right.
#1 strength of schedule, third rank, not big of a difference. Okay. South Carolina 12-3 in top 25, UCLA 10-2. Not big of a difference. Okay, both won the conference championship. All right, then we getting somewhere. Right. Where are we splitting hairs at? Oh, they actually met. And UCLA won.
Right, and then that's why I don't have a problem with it being UCLA, because they have that win over South Carolina. But I think that win over South Carolina, that was at home for UCLA, and I think that was a tired South Carolina team, because it was like their last non-conference game, right?
It was in November.
Okay.
And then obviously we talked about what happened with UConn, and that was
right.
To your point, might have been the biggest draw, because everybody.
I do think that the way that they lost to UConn, not necessarily that they lost to UConn, but the way they lost to UConn.
Not only the way they lost, but it was at home too.
Right. Agreed. They hadn't lost at home in like 3 years.
And y'all got destroyed at home.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. But hey, I felt the committee did the right thing. I was on UCLA, and come on, you're talking to an SEC guy. You would think I would be pulling for South Carolina down state. I love them. But if I'm being objective here, I say, well, UCLA, they do have that critical head-to-head meeting. I mean, you don't matter when they played, they met on the court.
Right.
It was visible.
Right.
And UCLA has that one. And they only lost to one team.
I don't think that.
But y'all gonna hold that one team that they lost to against them?
Like, I don't think if that matchup were to happen today that UCLA wins by 15.
No, I agree with you on that. But I'm just saying, if we're gonna be objective about this, we're gonna let's keep it objective on football to basketball. Let's keep it the same way. They met on the hardwood. UCLA came out on top. That's chat box #1.
I can respect that.
And then they only lost to one team twice. That's the only team they lost to. I get it. SEC is the better conference.
It is.
Which is very surprising when you talk about basketball.
Right.
I get it. But when you can sit here and say, I beat them, that's your difference right there. We met and we won. That's my argument. I had Cool McKay and Cole Johnson try to argue me down. Say, bro, they have to head-to-head meet, and they only lost to one on the team. That's it.
Right.
What more do you want out of UCLA?
A tougher conference schedule.
I mean, they can only play who's in their conference.
And I understand that they can't do anything about that. And not to say that Big Ten doesn't have good teams in there, because like I said, Nebraska is a very good defensive team. You got Indiana, who's decent, and then you got Ohio State, who's good but inconsistent. So it's not quite the same as the SEC.
And the thing about that is South Carolina played 15 top 25 teams. UCLA played 13. Not big of a difference.
Right. I agree.
So we ain't like South Carolina and UCLA didn't play nobody's.
I agree.
Oh, they scheduled